Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Just hanging out, talking to one of the dopest up-and-coming bantamweights in the UFC right now. So to get into this, just to let you know how I kind of wanted to do this is just talk a little bit about what got you into fighting, and then after that, just about your upcoming fight in the card, because it's actually really stacked. Is that cool?
Okay.
All right. So I guess we'll just get right into it. So first, a lot of people asked me. Also, I was curious as well. How did you get the nickname Funkmaster, and also what got you into fighting?
I got the Funkmaster based on my wrestling style from high school and college. I just had a very awkward takedown defense and way of attacking my offense. I didn't really have a good traditional fundamental sprawl or a proper shot. I didn't know how to shoot for crap. But, you know, I kind of just got into scrambles and just made it work for me. And people would always call me Funky. And up to Ben Askren a lot. His nickname is actually Funky Ben Askren. So I didn't want to take his nickname, but he's definitely a guy that helped mold my style. I mimicked a lot of my game in college wrestling based off of what he did, and that helped clean up some of the stuff that I was doing. And that was it, pretty much. We had a couple of different name options, and people liked the Funkmaster better, and that's how we had the birth of the Funkmaster.
Oh, okay, that's dope. So I didn't know you were a college wrestler. When I think about you as a fighter, I think about a very exciting fighter, and you've been striking a lot in your fights. So people don't really look at you as a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? So that's dope. That explains why you're one of the best fighters in the world, because you're very well rounded then.
Yeah, well, my early days of wrestling, I got criticized a lot for not using my striking whatsoever, but it was more so nobody can actually get to me. So whenever they try to overextend and hit me, they would open themselves up and leave themselves open for a takedown, and I would just put guys down and and submit them. But my last few fights have been pretty much stand up. You know, whenever the fight did hit the ground, it hit the ground. But for the most part, it's been displaying a lot more stand up striking, which is, you know, it's kind of more fun in a different sense. But I would always prefer the grappling. It's just more fun for me in terms of I get to make it a one-sided domination.
Yeah, okay. So with that being said, you're going to be facing, well, we can get into that. I was going to wait for that. I was going to say you're going to be fighting a pretty high-level grappler too, another up-and-coming bantamweight. But talking about your about some of your fights, how you said you've been striking as of late, and how I was kind of alluding to that. You've got 3 losses in your UFC career, and what's crazy is all 3 of those losses, you've never been dominated at all. Your first 2 losses were both split decisions, and so, I mean, a split decision, you know, it's however the judges see it. Who knows? Adelaide Bird could have been working that night. We don't know. But also, in your most recent loss, when you lost via KO, it's not, your opponent admitted at the end, he was like, I wasn't even intending to throw that strike. So, you know, you're 14-3, but you could be 17-0 necessarily, because I'm just saying you've never been dominated in a fight, which is dope. But with that being said, you're going to be fighting Brett the Pikey Johns coming up. I believe he's 15-0, and you're going to be fighting him. Is it April 21st in Atlantic City, if I'm not mistaken?
April 21st in AC, yep.
Okay, man, that card is stacked, bro. I've been looking at that card. Holy smokes, you got Kevin Lee and Edson Barboza headlining that card, Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson, heavyweight fight between Chase Sherman and is his name Justin Willis? Big Pretty? I know it's Big Pretty, but I think it's Justin Willis. And then we still got, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this card, it's so stacked, so I'm for sure going to be watching David Branch, Thiago Santos, and then of course you, Aljamain Sterling versus Brett Johns, and then still another fight on the main card between Jim Miller and Dan Hooker. Holy smokes, that's a that's a great card. So
I didn't realize how stacked it was, to be honest. But somebody was talking to me about it. I was like, wow, it really is a pretty stacked fight night card.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I mean, and of course, you know, coming off of the craziest week in UFC history, UFC 223, God forbid, even if you lose a fight on this card, it's still stacked. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything, this card is insane. So with that being said, speaking of UFC, to just touching on that briefly, I saw, of course, there was a lot of attention on UFC 223, and I saw, we all know your teammate Iaquinta stepped up, and he was in the main event, and I saw on some of the replays, I saw you in the corner, because there was a lot of talks of, when Khabib was talking to your coach Matt Serra in the corner, like, good advice, like, and stuff like that. So I saw you in the corner. Did you hear anything about what they were saying?
No, I couldn't really understand what Khabib was saying, to be 100% honest.
Okay.
But he was talking to us, particularly to Matt. And I think Ray had said something like, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to my guy, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I love Ray Longo too. I listened to the Unfiltered podcast, and I've heard when Ray Longo came on too. So speaking of that and your coaches and your teams, someone else also, I had some of my followers, give me some questions to ask you. They said, so what's your favorite part about your team? Your coaches and your teammates.
I am gonna say, I think it's just how relaxed everyone typically is, like throughout training camp, just having fun. We're enjoying the moments. We're all having a good time, and I think we legitimately all really do enjoy each other's company, and just seeing everyone have their success and rising up and having their time to shine. I think that's what it's all about, man. It's kind of like a real family atmosphere. I know a lot of people say that, but this is like a small gym, it's not like we have a ton of guys in and out of here, so we're all pretty well connected to each other, and we all stay in touch. We all hang out with each other, go places, do things, and I think that's what makes us a unique team. And of course, you got two of the greatest upsets in history, all under one coach, Ray Longo, Matt Serra, and Chris Weidman. And we thought we were going to pull it off again with Al.
I did too.
One punch away, you never know. I mean, he did clip him a couple times, short notice, and not, coming off the bad knee injuries and not being able to train the right way. It's good to have Al back and fully training again.
Yeah, man, I got to admit, whenever I started hearing those stats too, I knew that Serra upset GSP and Weidman upset Anderson Silva, and then I heard it was like the 11-year anniversary on the date, and Iaquinta got the call to fight in the main event. I was like, yo, the stars are aligning. This would be so. But yeah, and also talking about that fight just for 1 second, I also looked at it as had Iaquinta, in my opinion, had a better shot at beating Khabib than Anthony Pettis and Max Holloway would have, just because, as Khabib was saying in the press conference, like, I've been fighting guys like this, strikers, and so they, Anthony Pettis also, just looking as a fan, he doesn't have the same knockout power, in my opinion, as an Iaquinta, who's got 4 KOs in his last 5 fights. So I was like, yo, if anyone's, because to beat Khabib, people are saying you're probably gonna have to knock him out before he starts grappling you. So I was like, man, Iaquinta might be able to pull it off. If anybody out of these crazy opponent changes, it might be Iaquinta. Then on top of the crazy 11-year anniversary, yeah, that whole week was crazy, man.
Yeah, it really was, and I definitely agree with you there on that in terms of the stylistic matchup. And I don't think I think anybody else gets taken down, they kind of concede defeat and kind of lay there and just let Khabib have his way and pummel him. Al's not that type of guy. He doesn't have that quit in him whatsoever. And like he said in his interview with Ariel Helwani, you would have to kill him to get him out of there. And I truly do believe that's the only way you're getting that guy out of the octagon, or should I say to quit. He's one of those, put him in a submission, he'd rather go out than tap. He's a fighter's fighter, man. And that's why I really do love training with him. It kind of sucked not having him around for so long for my last few fights until of late. Now he's back and he's training. It's good to have that extra motivation in there, someone else that's like-minded around your size that you could work with hand in hand to go out to battle. I think it helps mentally prepare you and builds up that climatic feeling when you're right before you're about to hit the octagon and you're about to walk out, and you're having these guys who got your back no matter what. So it's it's a good atmosphere to be a part of.
Yeah, that's all, and I see that a lot in your team, like the smiles, the jokes. John Vellante, Chris Weidman. I mean, you guys are. It's always just seems so fun, like a real family environment. You can really just tell that with you guys. Even Matt Serra, Ray Longo. It seems like a family. You know what I'm saying? So I see where you're coming from with that. It seems fun as well. And so with that being said, you just touched on when you were saying that. With Iaquinta gone, you didn't have really a lot of training partners around your size. And when I think about your teammates, I don't know all of them, but I think about like Weidman and Vellante, just two of them that come off the top of my head. Do you have more training partners around your size, or how does that kind of work for a smaller like fighter who trains with big guys like light heavyweights and stuff?
Well, I do have more training partners my size. Sarah BJJ has a freaking multitude of high-level BJJ grapplers, black belts, brown belts, purple belts, all guys that could go to other gyms and give guys fits and nightmares on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
But those guys aren't fighters.
Okay.
So it's a different style of training.
Okay.
It's more towards jiu-jitsu. But when you had the wrestling, I'm probably one of the better wrestlers there at my weight class,
Mm-hmm.
if not this guy. So I'm kind of the big fish in the pond over there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it's always tough, when I got to start outsourcing and bringing guys in to get that extra work. But obviously it's not just wrestling, it's MMA wrestling, so there's some difference to it. So when you have high-level guys like an Iaquinta, like a Marab, and some of these other guys that can help push you. I've been cross-training with Dennis Bermudez, Chris Wade, and they train at Long Island MMA right down the road, not too far from us, probably about 20 minutes from my actual house, probably about 40 minutes away from my gym that I train at now. So, yeah, when I was away for a while, I had James Gonzalez, who's been on Dana White's looking for a fight and won. We were trying to get him on the Contender Series. That ended up not working out. We got Marab. We got Pumi. We got a lot of tough amateur guys. But like I said, to have a high-level guy who's in the UFC, in the top 10,
yeah.
When you're going neck and neck with guys like that, it lets you know and gives you that extra confidence of where you are skill-wise, and lets you know that you're not leaving any stones unturned because you're pushing the pace every single time you step on that mat, because nobody wants to lose to each other, and everyone wants to help each other get better. So you're going to help give your best efforts and your best looks for whoever their opponents are, and try to give them the best scout that they can have so that they're well prepared. And that's another thing, man, where we're all in this together. So one guy's fighting a certain style, we need somebody to perform and do something a certain way. We got guys who are willing to do that. Matt Favola, he's now back home on Long Island. I know he had he lost his last fight by knockout as well. But he's young, growing, and he only knew one fight style, and that was just go in and go guns blazing. He put everybody away like that. So now we're trying to polish him up and change some things. So we got a lot of tough guys, man. But like I said, small gym. We don't got a huge stable, but to have one guy missing, it does definitely can hurt. But I still won my last fights, even without Al being there necessarily training with me on the mat, but living with him and still getting that mental push, watching tape and things like that. So I think having him on the mat is just a lot better,
Okay, so yeah, and that's really a great transition into your next fight against Brett the Pikey Johns. I noticed he's his last fight I remember was a first round like calf slicer submission, like a very rare submission. But something that another subscriber asked me to ask you is, what do you think about your opponent's grappling? And I know you're a strong grappler as well, but what do you think about your opponent's grappling in your upcoming fight?
I don't know what to make of it. Joe Soto's a high-level BJJ practitioner. And especially when it comes to the leg lock department, I want to say Joe's just didn't take that position as much of a threat as anybody else would have, knowing like, hey man, this guy's got me in a very weird situation here. I should probably move. I think he's so relaxed in that position that he kind of just chilled out. So
okay,
it's I don't know, but he's definitely a good grappler, but his fights, even in Cage Warriors, Titan, all the fights I've watched, it's been more so he takes you down and kind of just lays on you.
Okay.
Holds position very well, and it seems like he's strong, or the guys that he's fighting are just not very crafty of getting back to their feet, or they just have no clue what jiu-jitsu is and how to grab a single leg. I don't know. So
okay.
I can't leave any stones unturned. I gotta just imagine that he's the best damn grappler I've ever faced, and gotta make sure I'm well prepared.
Yeah, that's a good game plan, and that also brings me up to a really good point I wanted to ask you. So I hear, and you kind of answered it in that, I hear some fighters say that they don't really watch tape, but you know, before I was a hardcore MMA fan, I used to watch the NFL and NBA, and I know there was always talk about film study and watching tape, so I just always assumed that would be a really smart thing, especially, you know, to pick up on things. But I mean, I see if your coaches watch tape and you don't want to watch it, I understand some people say they don't want to get out of their game plan, but what are your thoughts on watching tape as a fighter in preparation for a fight? And I just heard you say you were watching it, so I'm assuming you're for it, but what do you think about watching tape on your opponent as a fighter?
I'm definitely for it. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to worry about what you're going to do. What they're going to do, you just kind of got to have an idea of what style they're bringing to the table, because ultimately anybody can change over a couple months. How much? Everyone's going to resort back to their habits of what's instinctual in the fight, especially when things start getting tough. So it's really hard for me to say. Okay. So, but I definitely like to look at it, and then once I get an idea of the type of person I'm fighting, I try to see if they have any quit in them or any type of characteristics I can look for and possibly exploit. And I don't know. I think Brett's a very hittable target. He's shown that he's willing to sit there and let you tee off on him a little bit and just cover up because he's a tough dude. But whether or not that's a smart game plan, I don't know. And we're going to find out in a couple of short days if
yes, sir.
That's a wise decision for him to do, because I'm either going to put him down on his back or I'm going to freaking tee off on him, and it's going to hurt.
All right, man, I can't wait for this fight. All right, well, I want to say thanks again for coming on. I just want to ask you one or two more questions, and then we can wrap it up. So thanks again. But the other thing I saw was your teammate Merab is actually on this card as well, so I just wanted to plug his fight too. Merab Davishvili. I remember your coach Matt Serra, when he made the joke in Merab's last fight. It was I don't remember if it was a split decision, but the other guy's hand got raised, and he said Merab got Merab'd. It was pretty funny. But he's going to be fighting Ricky Simon also on this card, and you're going to be fighting Brett the Pikey Johns. And as I said earlier, this card is stacked. I know everyone that watches my channel is for sure going to be watching this card because I'm going to be so amped about it. But also, I just wanted to ask you one question before we get out of here. Do you know who Felony Charles Bennett is?
Is that the Crazy Horse guy?
Yeah, he doesn't go by that name anymore, but yeah, he is. I was just saying there's going to be this, he's got a fight coming up on this Cam Soda's card, and I don't know if you've heard anything about it. It's like an adult entertainment site is mixing with MMA for the first time, and like during the fight, I guess you can like donate and like say like Superman punch, and it'll scream it on the microphone like Superman punch, and if someone throws it, I don't know, it's got something to do with tips. But yeah, that's who it is. I was just wondering if you knew who it was. One of my subscribers asked me to ask if you knew who that was as a fighter.
I know who he is, but I never heard of that before, what he's doing. It's kind of
yeah, that's
crazy.
He's on a little bit of a losing streak right now, but that thing is groundbreaking. I believe he's on the co-main event. There's Rico. There's two guys in the main event that were former UFC fighters. I can't think of their names off the top of my head. But yeah, so I was just curious if you knew who that was, and that's something that's coming up like April 26th. I'm going to be tuned into it. So yeah, if you were interested, I just wanted to tie that in to also ask if you knew who that was as a fighter, because in my opinion, he's one of the legends in the game. You know, as far as he's very entertaining. He's very entertaining. I like the guy. Don't agree with everything he says. Got to put that out there, but just I'm looking forward to that fight. But your card though, this UFC Atlantic City, holy smokes, it's going to be crazy. But yeah, with that being said, is there anything you wanted to plug or anything before we got out of here?
I mean, I guess people could, if they want to buy some Funkmaster gear. I got some Funkmaster t-shirts that I'm making. Well, they're already made. They're on my website, aljamain.com. So if you guys want to get some of that, I'll try to get everyone shipped out by Monday the latest, so that everyone can have their stuff for fight night. Outside of that, you guys can just follow my vlogs. You can see some of my training. I'm gonna be posting a lot about my diet and how I cut down during fight week. I'm gonna try to get at least two, maybe 3 videos up, so people can see what I'm eating, how many times a day I'm working out, and what the day's like during fight week. And I think it's just give people a different insight on how to diet and what it's like for fighters when we're cutting down, because it sucks, but we get it done. And You gotta be professional, make weight, and show up on fight night.
Okay, and that made me think of one other thing, real quick. Do you play any games at all? Like video games, like Dimitri, like Twitch or anything?
I used to, man. I really don't have as much time as I used to. I wish I did, man. But yeah, I don't have that anymore, man. I'm doing so much real estate. I'm coaching high school kids. I'm doing my own vlogs, and I do my own editing too. And so I'm doing that.
On YouTube?
Yeah, it's my YouTube channel, YouTube /Funkmaster.
I'll put it in the description as well.
Yeah, Funkmaster UFC should take you directly to the platform. I got a whole lot of my training vlogs, so I'm very busy, and I'm watching my TV shows. I just got hooked to Billions, so I don't have much time, and when I do have some downtime in between double session training days, I just want to lay down and not move.
All right, well, thanks again for coming on, man, and I'll put the link to your website for the gear and also your YouTube channel in the description. Thanks again for coming on. I'm Full-Time MMA, aka Taco Bell Wani. I'll be holding it down on YouTube, and I'll be rooting for you in your up-and-coming fight, and also can't wait for the card, man. It's going to be great, and thanks for the opportunity.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, brother.
All right, I'm out. Late. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
This is #1 bullshit.